Good morning. As Sangeet said, this is a third edition. We started from the initial thought process that most most business festivals tend to be literary in nature. Non-literary festivals were few and far between. Now, of course, they are also beginning to catch speed. So 3 years ago, we started this whole idea of Business Litfest. The first time we talked about writing of business literature in general. Last year, we talked about entrepreneurs. This time, we thought we will talk about biographies and business histories. Now, obviously, business history is not a chronology of unrelated, random, disconnected events. I mean, we all know that. In fact, I recall as a kid, my life changed when I read a biography. I'll tell you why. I did very poorly in academics. I was 12 when I matriculated. But I was not a baby Einstein or anything. I was an average kid. But somehow by accident of various issues, at the age of 12, I entered class 10. So, but as I said, I wasn't terribly bright. But the middle class Indian expectations were you were supposed to do damn well, no matter, they made no concessions to how young you were. Now with average age of the kids in the class, 3 years higher than yours, it's not easy to cope. And my first shock came when I was in my BSc first year, and I emerged with 48% marks. By then, I was 14 and beginning to grow, and the realization began to hit me that, boy, unless I did something about my life, it wasn't going to be a big deal. And that is when I happened to chance upon a biography which changed my life. And the biography I read was Napoleon, of all the people, by Emil Ludwig. Now that is a better part. Anybody can write a biography on Napoleon, but not everyone is a Ludwig. That biography is one of the finest pieces of history, finest pieces of literature, and finest pieces of biographies that I have ever read. And I read something as silly as Napoleon used to catch his sleep on the horseback. If he was to travel somewhere, a 4-hour horse ride, he will catch his nap on the saddle. I said, hey, wait a minute, if one human being can do it, managing with 4 hours of sleep a day, and catching a nap on a horseback, with 4 hours of sleep on a proper bed, I should be able to do at least as much. I mean, that's how a 14-year-old thought. And believe me, from the age of 14 till the age of 45, I slept 3.5 to 4 hours a night because I believed in my simple mind as a child, if most people worked X number of hours, if I work 2x number of hours, I should be twice as good. It was a simple, plain, linear equation. And buffeted by Napoleon as my childhood hero. Of course, you can always find the villain in Napoleon, you can find a politician in Napoleon, you can find anything else in anybody, but biographies are all about that. You see, a biography can be a very matter of factual, but then it can be dull and boring, like my head, which is gray and, not sexy, not good enough for a selfie. But then, like most Indian men, if you color it black, that's not the real stuff, but maybe they think they're good enough for a selfie then, okay? So biographies can be like that. You can have a very good, honest, boring biography, or you can have a nice, sexed up, imaginary, dream world biography which really makes the character come alive, but probably is removed from truth. So where do you draw the line between a good biography and a bad biography? Sponsored biographies, which are more of an ego trip of affordability. I have arrived statement. Most business professors will become ghost writers, at least in the US that is a trend. I don't know how much of Indian business professors do ghost writing, but that is one extreme. The other extremes can be, you want to write on your own, but who is going to lay their lives bare before you? So how do you write an honest biography? And usually biographies start because often they are sponsored directly or indirectly, visibly or invisibly. They start with ego-building statements, but over a period of time, they acquire the nature of history. Because you have, as long as you have referred to something sufficiently in the distance, it becomes authentic. It's referencing in academic language. So therefore, coming across good biographies which are incisive and yet well-researched, genuine, honest, are all huge challenges both for a business writer as well as a business reader. If the whole idea is only inspirational, there is absolutely no problem with dreams and exaggerations and imaginations and so on in any book, because the whole idea is only to inspire. But if the idea is also to document, should you be documenting an accidental leader or a deliberate leader? Should you be capturing, an entrepreneur in his first avatar as a first generation entrepreneur, or a third generation entrepreneur who has built up over what he received as an iron? Now, all of these are the questions that you must all be asking today from people who will be much better placed than me to answer. And some of them will even be in the audience. We will try and drag them, at least with questions, as and when we feel the need. So thank you very much for all of you for being here, particularly all the authors, the participants, the partners, and so on. And I have my good friend Suresh Krishna here, the chairman of the TVS group. So you can throw some questions, not necessarily here alone, but there as well, because these are all people who will be able to answer some questions with great authenticity. Thank you very much and have a great day. We have made a very, it's a very rainy day in Bangalore, and there are trees fallen all over the place. I think even the entry would have been a little difficult depending on where you came from. I do apologize, but then that's also the fun of Bangalore. And the weather makes up for all of it in terms of the physical comfort that you feel here. So thank you and have a great day.